Well, you've heard a lot of allegations of high-tech fraud in last month's election. People messing with the software, putting in unauthorized thumb drives, etc. But maybe not enough about low-tech fraud, traditional fraud. There's evidence there was quite a bit of that. In Georgia, the state Secretary of State released an affidavit from his chief investigator who looked into election fraud. It rejects the claim that ballots were retrieved from suitcases on election night. But the affidavit does contradict reports on election night, the ones that you probably read, that a burst pipe delayed vote counting. Quote, our investigation revealed that the incident initially reported as a water leak late in the evening on November 3rd was actually a urinal that had overflowed early in the morning of November 3rd and did not affect the counting of votes by Fulton County later in the evening. Okay. But that's the opposite of what we heard, and that's the opposite of what officials said. Local news reports claimed that 40,000 absentee ballots could not be counted on election night due to a, quote, water main break. Interesting. Why the discrepancy? We should find out. The chairman of the state of Georgia's Republican Party has filed a lawsuit saying that there were thousands of examples of low-tech fraud on election night. David Shafer is the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party. We're happy to have him on. Ms. Shafer, thanks so much for joining us. Can you give us an example of the kind of low-tech fraud you believe took place?
Well, President Trump is behind Vice President Biden by 11,770 votes after the last recount. And in order to, we filed a suit contesting the election, and we've got to show that the number of irregular votes exceeds the margin. And we've done that. We've shown that people voted without being on the voter registration roll. People voted with having registered after the deadline. People voted more than once. People moved from the state, registered in another state, and then voted by absentee in our state. And those errors and irregularities are of such a scale that it exceeds the margin and casts the outcome of the election in doubt.
So those are kind of traditional ways to throw an election, right? I mean, there's nothing complicated about what you just described.
Nothing at all. I mean, we've got three major complaints. Thousands of ballots, of unlawful ballots, were counted and then recounted again. The counting took place in violation of Georgia law, which requires that it be done in public, in the open. And we have serious problems with the verification of absentee ballot signatures, which we don't believe occurred.
Yeah, well, in a lot of places we know it didn't. State of Nevada, for example. And I believe the majority of ballots cast in this election, about 60%, were cast absentee. So that, of course, matters. David Shafer struck us as a responsible, sober, fact-based person making real claims of fraud. We appreciate your coming on tonight, and I hope our viewers will look up what you filed and assess it for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you.